Reed has fired.
Trading for LaMelo Ball to pair with Anthony Edwards.
The Charlotte Hornets traded LaMelo Ball and Josh Green for a haul from the Minnesota Timberwolves. So now the Timberwolves have Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball, the number 1 and number 3 pick in the 2020 NBA draft, but they sent Naz Reid a unprotected first-round pick, 3 first-round pick swaps, and 3 second-round.
We're witnessing a young backcourt that could do something special for the next 5 to 6 years. Anthony Edwards has been dying to play with a point guard.
Hey, what if they all came to Minnesota with you? Then what?
Did Minnesota just become a dangerous backcourt in the Western Conference after pairing Melo and Ant-Man together in Minnesota?
Man, I don't know how dangerous they're going to be, Uncle Ocho, but they damn sure going to be fun.
They're going to be excited.
Ball traded. This was the deal. LaMelo Ball and Josh Green for Naz Reid. You got to make money work and all that stuff. I get it. Mm-hmm. And the other assets they got a first-round unprotected pick. They got 3 second-round picks, and they got...
Legends rarely look shaken, but this time feels different because the NBA's most electrifying entertainer has reportedly been shipped to the league's coldest destination, LaMelo Ball to Minnesota. And trust me, nobody saw this coming. Shaq is cracking jokes, while NBA stars across the league are quietly wondering what this move really means. One future Hall of Famer even admitted, this changes everything, or it ends in disaster. And that single reaction has fans debating non-stop. So why has this blockbuster deal sent the basketball world into complete chaos? Stick around until the end, because the reactions only get wilder from here.
LeBron James, Jaylen Brown constantly being thrown in the mix. And then there was one name that just popped up out of nowhere, and that was LaMelo Ball.
It's going to free up a lot. Ant-Man going to free up a lot of shots for Melo. It's going to be a good time. It could either go 2 ways. Like I said, it could go good or it could be a highlight reel.
The sign outside of the team's new practice facility says Hive mentality. But after some moves, including trading Miles Bridges, some fans are wondering what the team's mentality really is.
If a team ever wanted to figure out a way to lose his fan base and to actively lose, the Charlotte Hornets are...
But coming off his best year and the team's best season and his healthiest year and at the peak of his popularity, the Charlotte Hornets said, you know, let's get out of the LaMelo Ball business for Naz Reid and 1 first.
LaMelo Ball does as good as anybody.
Were you surprised at all?
I was very surprised.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised because LaMelo Ball has a trust issue next to his name. Everybody's got these trust issues with him. I tell you what I trust him to do. I trust him to throw a good lob, and now he's got a good lob target. I trust him to come off a ball screen and take 2 dribbles and get in the lane. He might serve the pizza with.
The entire NBA community woke up to what felt like one of the wildest moves of the offseason as the Timberwolves made the bold decision to bring LaMelo Ball to Minnesota. In exchange, they sent out Naz Reid along with additional assets, landing one of the league's most exciting playmakers from Charlotte. And just like that, the conversation exploded, with former NBA stars, analysts, and fans all reacting as if this single trade had completely shifted the balance of power across the league.
Kind of broke last night or a couple days ago as far as, there being some conversations around LaMelo Ball, so I didn't expect it to happen as quickly as it did. Didn't expect to wake up to it this morning, but obviously the news broke.
And so now you look at what's the recipe for winning, and you're going, what do we need? So we got Jaden McDaniels has taken a huge step. We have our superstar. Now we need that guy who's going to make everyone else better. And to get a guy like LaMelo, who at times has been questioned about his seriousness of basketball, and you put him with them dogs, right? You put him, now he's not the main guy anymore, but he's with one of the top 5, top 10 best players in the league, who is...
When people say you should be in a different market, like you shouldn't be here, does it bother you when people try to put stuff like that out there in your head?
My bother, like if I don't eat, I ain't got the meal, I'll call my people, hopefully some food, something like that. So all the bothering like that don't bother me. Bother me like stuff throughout the day. The dog piss on the floor or something, shit bother me, little stuff like that. But telling me to go somewhere or do this or nah.
Ever since the deal became official, people haven't been able to stop debating how this trade could completely reshape the future for both teams. And the deeper you dig into the details, the more unbelievable the entire situation starts to feel. You won't believe how many layers this move has. It looks like Minnesota finally decided that simply being competitive wasn't enough and chose to take a massive gamble in hopes of chasing something much bigger.
Best signing of all time for Minnesota.
For sure, bro.
Yeah, second best signing. Well, trade, I would say. First best signing is obvious.
LaMelo Ball, and you think about it from the Minnesota perspective. This is a massive swing. Tim Connolly, the president, is not a stranger for taking risks. And the Rudy Gobert deal several years ago was a risk. That team ends up going to the conference finals with Rudy Gobert. He's impacted winning at a high level. There's obviously not the winning history for LaMelo Ball, but now you try to infuse yourself with as much talent as you can. They needed a point guard in the worst way in Minnesota, and they knew it. They were going out to try to address this need for a star player. And I think now when you spin it forward, my understanding is LaMelo Ball is very excited to go play with Anthony Edwards to try to win championship.
About the Warriors and LeBron, I think this is must-see TV right here. I think you need to add a power forward. We're missing that. But everything else, this is what I've been asking for.
Putting LaMelo Ball alongside Anthony Edwards instantly gives Minnesota one of the most electric backcourts the NBA has seen in years, and that's exactly why fans are so excited. Edwards has dealt with constant double teams for far too long, but now he'll have an elite creator beside him, a guard who can dissect defenses, deliver incredible passes, and confidently pull up from way beyond the three-point line without hesitation. If their chemistry clicks, the floor spacing could become a nightmare for opposing defenses, turning the Timberwolves' offense into one of the toughest attacks to slow down on any given night.
Table for Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards has been one of the best three-point shooters in this league over the last 2 seasons. And now all of a sudden you have a point guard that's not only going to push the pace, not only could score the basketball, but also could set the table so that Anthony Edwards could be the best version of himself at the two.
That, Joe. They might not be the most dangerous, but they're gonna be entertaining as hell.
Oh man, hey, because you got to understand both of those guys probably ranked top 5, top 10 in signature shoes that's out right now. LaMelo with Puma, Ant-Man with Adidas, and just the aura that they both carry. I think they're gonna make each other better.
LaMelo Ball has yet to be in the postseason, and so for LaMelo, this is a great opportunity. But he's going to need growth, right? From a maturity standpoint. Trying to play the championship, trying to get to a conference finals and not making the postseason, those are 3 different teams. Those are 3 different experiences, right? Mistakes don't just get washed away. Film sessions are a little bit tougher. Like when you have a high level of expectation, and so for me, when I look at LaMelo, that's where he's.
Once LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards start finding their rhythm together, opposing defenses are going to have an impossible choice. Double one star, and the other could make you pay in an instant. It almost feels like Minnesota looked at its roster and decided it wasn't enough to be good. They wanted more firepower, more entertainment, and a whole lot more offense. So they made the blockbuster move for one of the league's most exciting shot creators, a player capable of catching fire in the blink of an eye. But here's where the conversation takes a surprising turn, because the price they paid has plenty of people raising eyebrows. Naz Reid wasn't just another role player sitting on the bench. He gave the Timberwolves valuable size, scoring, and versatility that made their front court a serious problem for opponents. Now, after multiple roster changes, Minnesota suddenly looks much smaller, leaving Rudy Gobert as the lone true interior presence holding everything together. And in the Western Conference, where playoff basketball is built around physicality, that lack of size could become a major weakness when the games matter most. That's exactly why critics keep saying championship teams are built on balance, not simply 2 spectacular guards carrying the offense while expecting Gobert to erase every defensive mistake by himself. In the end, this feels like one of those all-or-nothing moves that either ends with a championship celebration or gives everyone the perfect opportunity to say, "We saw this coming."
He averaged 20 points,
He shot 40% from the floor, 37 from three-point range, 7 assists. And, of course, the Hornets a pleasant surprise at 44 and 38. To me, this is a culture change. You're sending him to Minnesota. Minnesota gets a point guard with Anthony Edwards. You give up Naz Reid, who I think is a really good two-way player here. But this feels like LaMelo Ball is...
To the Timberwolves. Zoe, G, what y'all think about it, man? Give
Minnesota,
us like...
my favorite team in the NBA now.
Okay. Go Wolves.
Go Wolves. And while we're on it, I'm advocating Bron go to Golden State.
Okay, well, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that after. Hold on.
All right,
but like, we talking about Timberwolves right now.
Go Wolves.
Where do you guys have them?
Hey, yo, Ant, I see you, boy. Hey.
Where do you guys have them in?
The most surprising part of this entire story is just how confident Minnesota seems about pulling it off. They're acting as if bringing in LaMelo Ball instantly solves every challenge Anthony Edwards has been dealing with over the last few seasons, as though one elite playmaker can suddenly erase years of double teams and relentless defensive pressure. There's no question the offensive potential shoots through the roof, but championships are won on both ends of the floor, and the Timberwolves just gave up valuable size and depth like they were easy pieces to replace. Just imagine them reaching the Western Conference Finals, only to run into a team loaded with towering big men that dominates the glass and exposes their smaller lineup. That possibility keeps coming up in conversations, and it's exactly why this trade feels like a massive gamble where the entire league is waiting to see whether Minnesota is holding a winning hand or bluffing big time. Meanwhile, Charlotte approached this move from a completely different perspective, making a decision based on long-term stability instead of short-term excitement. LaMelo has undeniable talent and can light up any game, but his injury history has also made it difficult to fully rely on him as the face of the franchise for years to come. Rather than putting all their faith in one superstar, the Hornets chose roster flexibility and the opportunity to build a more balanced future around Brandon Miller and the rest of their young talent. They also added draft assets and dependable role players who can strengthen the team without demanding superstar attention or a max contract. Looking at the bigger picture, it almost feels like Charlotte finally accepted that their original plan had run its course, and instead of forcing it to work, they hit the reset button and never looked back.
Is a Minnesota Timberwolf. This is a blockbuster, to say the least.
The Charlotte Hornets made this move because I forgot the kid from Chicago been coming into his own. I think they're going to probably start him at PG. They had some decisions to make. He played well, and you see it was a little shaky with Melo, but he coming into an organization where it's about winning. I think in structure, I think that's what you need.
I find myself, Vinny, Shams, Wendy, looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves and feeling like they got a little bit smaller in a conference where obviously size matters because of OKC and San Antonio. And so for me, I do find myself looking at them. Now, granted, it's a bit offset by the fact that Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks won the title, and you saw the Knicks being led by a 6'1" guard. I get that part. But the other side to it is that being in the Torrid Western Conference, with the size that exists, particularly with those two teams, we didn't even bring into...
Some fans are calling this the kind of smart, patient rebuild every franchise should make, while others believe Charlotte simply gave up on the most exciting player they had. The truth is, LaMelo Ball made Hornets games worth watching, even on nights when the scoreboard wasn't doing them any favors. Now, the organization has a chance to embrace a more balanced, team-first identity instead of relying on one superstar to generate all the excitement. Whether that approach actually translates into more wins is still a huge question, but one thing is certain. They're no longer committed to building the next several years around a guard whose availability has often been a concern. From the front office's perspective, it probably feels like trading in a flashy sports car that constantly needed repairs for something more dependable that can go the distance. But here's where the debate really starts heating up, because former NBA players are completely split on this blockbuster move. Some legends believe Minnesota made the perfect modern basketball decision by betting on elite talent instead of prioritizing size and physicality. Their argument is simple. Today's NBA belongs to dynamic guards who can create offense out of nothing, and LaMelo is one of the very best at doing exactly that. Others couldn't disagree more, insisting championships are still won through toughness, rebounding, and controlling the paint, not just launching shots from 30 feet away. And they question whether Rudy Gobert can carry that burden by himself against bigger, more physical teams. That difference in opinion has sparked non-stop debates, with one side convinced the Timberwolves just became one of the league's most exciting teams, while the other predicts this experiment ends with an early playoff exit and major problems on the boards.
Over there, you can see that they building towards that. Like,
yeah,
they cleaning up the Charlotte area. Let's just say
for
that.
sure, definitely.
Yeah, because LaMelo was definitely GTA 6 downtown in the whip.
Definitely headed to Carmel.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell.
Gentrification of the Hornets for sure.
Yeah, it's being gentrified for sure.
Yeah, most of the amounts I definitely got minutes for them as a big. Yeah, hey man, Hornets. Let me know how y'all feel, man. I don't think it's gonna be so bad, but for the Timberwolves,
oh, it's lit.
It is lit, man.
I can kind of see that's where Minnesota's going because they got rid of their beef.
I think yeah, Joe. I think the thing is that they need more scoring. They need consistent scoring. They need somebody that Ant-Man that can absorb some of these double teams from Ant-Man.
Yep.
Ant-Man was facing constant double teams, and to try to lighten the load on him, he has a guy that can stretch the floor. They haven't had this type of guy in a very, very long time. He can shoot the three. He is good at one leg shooting three as we have in the NBA. He can put the ball on the floor. He got a nice float game.
Charlotte hasn't escaped the criticism either. Plenty of fans are joking that the Hornets traded away the most entertaining player on their roster in exchange for role players and draft picks that may never develop into true stars. The new team-first culture sounds great in theory, but supporters who loved LaMelo's unpredictable brilliance are now preparing to watch a younger group that's still learning how to win together. It's the ultimate rebuild versus contend debate, except both franchises completely change directions at the same time, leaving the rest of the NBA wondering which philosophy will actually pay off. What makes this trade so fascinating is that neither team played it safe. Minnesota is betting that elite shot creation, explosive offense, and superstar talent can carry them deep into the playoffs, despite questions about their size and defense, while Charlotte is betting that patience, financial flexibility, and roster balance will produce better long-term results than building around one electrifying player. Neither organization chose the comfortable path, and that's exactly why people are still arguing about this deal months later. Once the playoffs arrive, every weakness gets exposed under the brightest lights, and that's when we'll finally discover whether these bold decisions were strokes of genius or massive mistakes. Now imagine how much tougher the Western Conference becomes with LaMelo Ball pushing the pace, forcing defenses into chaos, and pulling up from well beyond the three-point line. Teams that once focused almost entirely on slowing down Anthony Edwards now have a completely different problem to solve, because stopping one superstar is hard enough, but containing two is a whole different challenge.
Multiple times over the last season, but they finally get him now. This is a high price. LaMelo Ball is at the peak of his value at this point, and last night, near the end of the second round, I started hearing that they were going to be moving potentially LaMelo Ball, because not that they were shopping him, but they were getting several teams inquiring, reaching out, making offers. Minnesota, Toronto, there were others as well. So Charlotte didn't start this offseason saying we're going to trade LaMelo Ball, but the offers just got so rich, as we see here. And there was always
that boy Shams didn't probably sleep at all. LaMelo Ball traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Naz Reid and a whole bunch of draft capital for like the next decade. Immediate thoughts to the move, Boogie? I will start with you.
A bit of a shock, the news kind of broke last night or a couple of days ago as far as, there being some conversations around LaMelo Ball. So I didn't expect it to happen as quickly as it did. Didn't expect to wake up to it this morning, but obviously the news broke. But I think it's a great move.
It sounds like a lot, but really like two of those pick swaps are like nothing. And then the third pick swap is like it's like a swap they've already swapped and they just like decreased the order. So it's like whatever. 3 second-round picks, and after the trade, the Minnesota Timberwolves championship odds actually shot up.
So are those swaps first round, though?
If everything falls into place, the Timberwolves could end up with one of the most explosive offenses in the entire NBA, and that's the dream they're chasing. But there's also a very real chance they become one of those teams that drops 130 points one night and still walks away with a loss because they simply can't get enough stops on defense. That's exactly why this trade has become one of the league's biggest talking points. One game, they'll look completely unstoppable. The very next night, they could get pushed around on the glass and leave everyone asking whether sacrificing all that size was really worth it. Meanwhile, Charlotte gets to sit back and see whether its new group of players grows into something special over time. Instead of gambling on a superstar with ongoing durability concerns, the Hornets chose to spread the responsibility across a deeper, more balanced roster. It's the kind of patient strategy that rarely grabs headlines in a league obsessed with star power, which honestly makes the decision even more fascinating. While most franchises are constantly chasing the next superstar, Charlotte decided to focus on building a stronger foundation, even if that means sacrificing highlight reel moments in the short term. And that's where this story takes another interesting twist, because public opinion changed almost overnight once the trade became official. Fans who once praised LaMelo's creativity suddenly started wondering whether he could handle life in Minnesota, both on the court and off it. At the same time, many of the same people who criticized Charlotte's front office quickly began applauding the organization for clearing salary, collecting assets, and thinking about the future. The NBA never misses an opportunity to rewrite the narrative, and this blockbuster trade has created enough debate to fuel conversations all season long.
Charlotte. But first, what exactly is going on in Minnesota? Because even though I don't believe that they're a loser by any stretch of the imagination, adding a player to the caliber of LaMelo Ball is certainly great. But the amount of draft capital that they gave up, I ain't gonna lie, this is going to be a massive risk. And if it don't work out, boy, is it going to...
As far as LaMelo Ball, listen, he's exciting. He's a hell of a talent. He can put up a lot of good numbers, and he's filling a hole that this team needs. Now there's just another hole that they need that I think is more major than what they needed in the first place. So I'm happy that he gets a fresh start. I know Chris Finch is a great coach, and he will bring the best out of him and keep him professional and kind of keep, maturing him as a player and as a man. But I just don't know if it moves the needle for me, honestly, for Minnesota to go say now they're better.
Just say that there's just straight positive. There's definitely some negatives. The defense. LaMelo, he has never known to be a lockdown defender. I'm not gonna lie. You know LaMelo for offense. Definitely not defense. You feel me? Anthony Edwards, amazing defensively. He's proven that through seasons. He is great. Gobert protects the rim. He's great. You feel me? But teams.
Suddenly, it seemed like every analyst with a microphone had a completely different opinion, transforming what looked like a straightforward trade into a much bigger debate about what the future of basketball should look like in 2026. And the deeper you examine Minnesota's roster, the more fascinating the entire experiment becomes. The NBA continues moving toward positionless basketball, built around skill, pace, and perimeter play, and LaMelo Ball fits that evolution almost perfectly. If he and Anthony Edwards build the chemistry fans are hoping for, this duo could elevate the Timberwolves to a level the franchise hasn't reached in years, regardless of the questions surrounding their front court. Their offensive firepower could become so overwhelming that opponents simply won't be able to match their scoring, even if Minnesota isn't perfect on the defensive end. That's exactly why so many people believe this gamble is worth making, because if everything clicks when the pressure is highest, the reward could be absolutely enormous.
It's an elite backcourt. We have to remember that LaMelo averaged 20 this year, shooting 37% from three-point range. Him and Concanipo were 2 and 1 respectively in terms of three-point field goals made. LaMelo Ball made 272 three-pointers, so the brother can score, but his gift is passing the basketball. And look who he's passing it to. A superstar, if ever there was one, in Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards. So certainly from a backcourt perspective, knowing how desperately they needed help at the point guard spot, you definitely answered that call. So I think it's definitely a huge, huge plus, and I give them credit for that.
I see LaMelo Uncle Ocho. He gonna make the game a lot easier for Ant-Man. You know what I mean? Because LaMelo is a pass-first point guard who can score.
With it too.
You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be nice where he probably going to have 16 assists, 12 points. And it's going to be other nights he may have 27 points and 8, 9 assists. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of those guys who's going to be able to fill out the game, but he knows he going to always have to get Ant-Man.
I forget, it's like super complicated. There's like 4 teams involved. Yeah. And Charlotte is now 3rd in the pecking order of the swap. Gotcha. And Minnesota is the 4th.
So there's no guarantee.
No, it's like 2 teams that get better odds on the swap stuff.
Gotcha.
Charlotte's perspective on this trade is just as intriguing, even if it isn't getting the same attention. By moving on from LaMelo Ball, the Hornets made it clear they're changing the direction of the franchise after spending years trying to build around a single superstar. Instead of relying on star power alone, they're now prioritizing player development, team culture, and long-term financial flexibility. That decision also gives Brandon Miller the opportunity to fully embrace a larger role without constantly sharing a spotlight with one of the league's flashiest guards, while the rest of the young core can develop at its own pace without endless comparisons. It's definitely a slower and less glamorous approach, but many fans believe it's the smarter path after watching talented rosters fall apart because they were never built the right way. The really interesting part is imagining where both franchises could be 2 or 3 years from now. Minnesota might be celebrating a trip to the NBA Finals or wondering why an explosive backcourt never turned into postseason success. At the same time, plenty of people respect the Timberwolves for taking a bold swing instead of playing it safe like so many teams around the league. And because nobody truly knows how this story ends, the debate keeps growing, fueling non-stop predictions, heated discussions, and endless basketball content.
The reason they traded LaMelo is because Kobe White is who he is, right? More solid. Had a conversation with Charles Lee recently. I think he seemed like a more of a no-nonsense kind of a coach, right? LaMelo is a hell of a talent.
He is.
Hell of a talent, yes. But I think Charles Lee preaches defense first. I don't think that's LaMelo.
NBA, LaMelo Ball's going from Charlotte, and he's going to Minnesota. But what I like about this, Minnesota figured out Ant's not necessarily a playmaker. He's a finisher, he's a scorer, and he's great. This is called a plan. A prime example. At the trade deadline, they go out and steal a guy from the Chicago Bulls.
It is a risk for the Hornets, and it's kind of a sneaky risk. So they got back Naz Reid, 1 unprotected first in 2033, and then 3 pick swaps. So this is a swap in 28, 29, and 30. And what is a swap? It's a bet that
At the end of the day, this blockbuster trade is exactly why the NBA never stops entertaining its fans. Every franchise bets on a different vision, every fan base defends its side, and the real answers only arrive once the playoff lights come on. Seeing LaMelo Ball in a Timberwolves jersey somehow feels both unbelievable and completely believable at the same time. It's almost as if the league needed one more unpredictable storyline to make an already crazy season even more exciting. Whether this experiment ends in a championship run or a spectacular collapse, it's going to be one of the biggest stories to follow because both organizations chose to take a massive risk instead of settling for the safe option. And that's why the basketball world can't stop watching, debating, laughing, and breaking down every new development surrounding this deal. The craziest part of this trade isn't just what it means for Minnesota or Charlotte, it's how it could force the rest of the NBA to adjust. Western Conference contenders now have to prepare for an even faster, more dangerous Timberwolves backcourt while still finding ways to protect the paint against everyone else. That alone could push coaches who prefer traditional lineups to completely rethink how they build and defend their rosters. LaMelo's arrival changes every scouting report, creates brand new matchup problems, and sends a ripple effect across the league much faster than anyone expected.
Directly addressed by grabbing Giannis Antetokounmpo. When you combine that with Bobby Portis being his teammate, who is no scrub, we don't mention him enough. He is not a scrub. The brother can play. He's there. Then you combine that with the fact that you've got a situation where Bam Adebayo, a 20-10 player, who's an all-star caliber player, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and an elite defensive player. You look at that front line.
LaMelo Ball, because of the injuries over the previous couple of years, it would be very difficult to move a player of his size of his contract. Not just because of the injury issues and whatever. So many teams have their star point guards, and we just saw a whole basket of teams draft potential future star point guards. There's not a big market in a big lane to move to move a highly paid star point guard. For Charlotte to see this avenue, even if they're on the fence 50-50.
LaMelo Ball is going to have vets. He's going to have, and there's going to be some more moves made, I think, but he's going to have the Kyle Andersons and the Mike Conleys and the Rudy Goberts. Like, those are real vet presence that have been in the league for a very, very long time that LaMelo Ball hasn't necessarily had in his career to hold him accountable. And he doesn't have to be the best player on the floor. He won't be the best player on the floor because Anthony Edwards will be next to him. So I think that will also just calm him down, bring the best out of him, let him play make, let him just straight up play point guard. and get Jaden going, get Io going, let Anthony Edwards kind of have the keys and take turns and have a more balanced, offensive approach than he has in Charlotte.
Years from now, this blockbuster could be remembered as the move that transformed the Timberwolves into a true championship contender, or the decision that sacrificed a well-balanced roster for star power and ultimately backfired. Minnesota pushed all of its chips to the center of the table, betting that elite talent and offensive brilliance would matter more than traditional size, grit, and physicality, while Charlotte chose a completely different path built around patience, flexibility, and long-term planning. Both strategies come with serious risks, but they also offer the kind of hope every franchise needs to survive the ups and downs of an NBA season. And that's what makes this story so fascinating, because nobody knows which side made the right decision just yet. The basketball world always acts like it can predict the future, but time and time again, the league delivers surprises that leave even the loudest analysts looking completely wrong. More than anything, this trade is a reminder that building a championship team is never an exact science. It's a mix of smart planning, calculated risks, unpredictable moments, and a little bit of luck. In the end, the teams remembered forever are usually the ones willing to take bold chances, even if it means risking failure in pursuit of something truly legendary.